Welcome to the Brand Doctor Podcast, strategies that help entrepreneurs build reputable and profitable brands. Here's your host, Henry Kaminski Jr.
Hey, what's going on, everyone? Henry Kaminski here from UniqueDesigns.net with another Brand Doctor Podcast episode. And today we have an amazing guest, a new friend that I had just bumped into, longtime follower of Unique Designz on Instagram, bumped into him in Madison Square Garden randomly last weekend at the Synergy Global Forum. And after hearing his story and going to lunch with him, I had to have him on the show. Guys, give a huge warm welcome to Jeremy Rodriguez from Inspired by Unity. What's up, Jared? What's going on?
Henry, what's up, man? I am excited. Like I told you earlier, this conversation and this podcast was way overdue. I feel very humbled and very privileged to be in this position right now, man, to tell you the truth.
Dude, I'm so happy that you're taking the time and being part of it. Real quick, guys, funny story with Jeremy. We were at the Synergy Global Forum 2 weeks ago in Madison Square Garden. There's like 5,000 people in the theater, and we're all getting ushered in early in the morning. And I get a tap on my shoulder, and it's Jeremy. And I look over, and he's like, "Yo, are you Unique Designz on Instagram?" And I was like, "Yeah." He was like, "Well, I've been following you for a long time." He's like, "I love what you," and I was like, this is not happening. This is out of 5,000 people, he finds me of all people. So anyway, we started talking and we got to know each other a little better. We went to lunch, and Jeremy has a phenomenal story as to how he created Inspired by Unity and the brand itself. And so I'm going to shut up because I'm super excited. Wait until you feel the energy from this guy, folks. Jeremy, tell us how you created and why you created Inspired by Unity in the first place.
Well, the reason why I created Inspired by Unity is because I grew up in an environment it had very little hope. You know, it was drug based, it was prostitution based, a lot of violence, a lot of everything that a kid should never be exposed to. And as I grew up, I used to always tell myself there has to be more to life than this. There is no way that, you know, us kids are only going to have to go through basketball or football or some sport or become a rapper to become successful in life. And I used to always use my imagination on what if there was more. And you know, the real why is because my parents to this day are unfortunately still under substance abuse, and somebody dropped the ball in their life, and somebody dropped the ball in the life of the people that took care of them. And I told myself, my parents have been running away from their emotions. They've been running away from their thoughts. They've been running away from everything that could have maximized their potential because they were scared and they never been introduced to different. So because of that, I told myself, how many more kids are not dealing with that right now? How many more kids are not feeling like there's no hope in life, like there's nothing that they're going to amount to? And because of that, I've been driven, I've been motivated, and I just want to inspire not just kids, but everybody that there is more to life. If you open up your horizons, if you disconnect from your reality and just use your imagination just a little bit.
That's powerful, dude. You know, there was one thing that Jeremy said to me at the conference that will stick with me probably forever, and I want to share that with my audience, with those that are listening. And you know, I said, Jeremy, you know, we always get us as entrepreneurs. You know, we're constantly on a roller coaster journey when we're creating our business and brands. And you know, even me, I try to stay as positive and as motivated as enthusiastic as I possibly can, you know, building my brand and creating my own journey. You know, there's some days that I just don't want to get up, or I don't want to do this, or I don't want to do that, or I'm just in a funk and I don't know what to do. And I said, Jared, what would you tell me if I was in one of those funks? And he said, Henry, just look in the mirror and look at yourself and say, bro, you're more than enough. And dude, that stuck. That is going to stick with me forever, Jeremy, because, we may miss sales and we may not feel like we're 100% that day. And that could just put our whole day in a tailspin. And when you told me that, it just helps me nip those types of days right in the butt. Absolutely. And it's just amazing. So I want my audience to understand that when you're having a bad day and you just want to close up shop, or you feel like your brand isn't really going to amount to anything and you're just ready to throw in the towel, just remember that you're more than enough. You just have to apply it. You have to understand. You have to get in the right mindset. And that's what I want to talk about today, Jeremy. I want you to walk us through, what are some of the struggles that not only kids, but entrepreneurs are having these days when it comes to having the right mindset to actually accomplish what it is that they want to accomplish. What's going on?
I think people are just vulnerable to their circumstances. And here's what I mean. Sometimes we're so concerned with the result that we're after that we forget to embrace the journey. And for me, I truly believe the journey is more powerful than the ultimate result, because you're spending more time during the journey than you do the result. So what I would suggest to anybody is enjoy the process, because when you enjoy the process, you give it 110%. When you enjoy the process, you're not necessarily getting so caught up in the result because you feel confident that the result is inevitable because of how much you're enjoying what you're doing. So for me, the biggest downfall that I see with entrepreneurs is that they want to do so much in such little time, and they're not willing to condition their mind for those obstacles. So here's what I mean. If I know that I'm striving for greatness, if I know that I want to do something great in a global form, I have to condition my mind to do that. And your morning ritual is going to set the standard in how you do that. So I'll give you an example. When I wake up, forget about going to my emails, forget about going on social media, forget about what's happening in the world. I want to embrace the fact that I have another opportunity to live 24 hours. And that gratitude, it starts off my day on the right foot. What happens if you know that when you first wake up, you're in that stage where, depending on what you get introduced to, it can affect the remainder of your day. Whether it's a phone call, a text message, an email, a status. So for me, I tell people, let's cut out all the middlemen. Let's embrace and respect the fact that we made it another day on this beautiful thing called Earth. Let's respect it, let's value it, and let's condition our mind for that. So here's a little ritual that I want to share with you guys, that I share with you, Henry. When I wake up, I take a shower. I wash my body. And what I'm thinking in that shower is, what can I actually be grateful for? Because here's the thing, guys. When you're grateful intercepts any negative emotion. You cannot be grateful and worried at the same time. You cannot be grateful and fearful at the same time. You cannot be grateful and mad at the same time. Gratitude is the king of all emotions. So for me, when I start to think about what am I grateful for, immediately my energy rises and my vibration elevates. Once I think about what I'm grateful for, I think about what I want to accomplish out of this day. I got blessed with these 24 hours. What's my ultimate task? What's my mission? What am I really after? And what does it mean? And when I think about that, I see everything as done. It's already finished. In my mind, it's already finished. Because if it cannot be finished in your mind, you're not going to execute it in your reality. It's impossible. You have to really execute it internally so that you can experience it externally. After I do that, the last piece, and this is the piece that's the most important, this is the piece that really has value. I think about individuals that are in my life that mean something to me. And I shower my body, prepare myself to go to their wake that day. That may seem dark, that may seem intense, but here's the thing. The bottom line is that us human beings, because we expect tomorrow to be there, we take for granted the relationships that are meaningful in our life today. We forget about the people that are valuable. We forget on why we're doing what we're doing. I don't want to be that guy. I don't want to be that guy to bring somebody flowers to their wake when I could have brought flowers while they were alive and they could actually seen them. So because of those things, again, all that stems to the origin is gratitude. Now, here's the piece, Henry, that's very valuable. Relationships is something that we can't escape. No matter who you are, there's no isolation. There's always going to be relationships in your life. Now, here's the thing. Sometimes relationships don't go accordingly. Sometimes we have fallouts. Sometimes we have arguments. The problem with us is that we stay so stuck in those arguments. We stay so stuck in those fallouts that now those emotions carry over to everything else in our life. So for me, because I truly believe that anybody could be gone instantly, whatever fallout I have with somebody, I address it immediately and I communicate effectively. And I ask myself, ultimately, what am I trying to get out of this situation? We had a little discrepancy. That person has their own perspective. I have mine. Let's come to common grounds. And that, ladies and gentlemen, is how I start my day. I start my day by being grateful. I start my day by understanding what I want to get out of my day, complete the task at hand internally so that I can experience it externally. And most importantly, love those people that you love the most, because one day there will not be there. One day you will not be able to forgive them. One day they are not going to carry the value that they carry in your life right now.
That's so powerful, bro. You know, a lot of you guys are probably thinking like, you know, what does this have to do with branding? What does this have to do with building my business? You know, everything. I'm going to be honest with you guys. It means everything in the world. You know, the morning ritual that Jeremy is speaking of, that he puts himself through every day, gets that mind right to make the right decisions for that day.
100%.
And that's what we need to understand, guys. If your heads are up your asses every single day and you guys are focusing in on the wrong things, no wonder why you're not getting the right return or the right results. And this is, and I want to tell Jeremy to talk about this, because he talked about this when we were together face to face at the conference. What did you say, Jeremy, when things don't go right for people? Like when things start to go wrong for people inside of their businesses, it's not the other person's fault per se. It's whose fault?
You are, and you guys have to listen to me very carefully. You are 1,000,000% responsible for every single thing that happens in your business. And here's why. We all know a little bit about the law of attraction. Like attracts like. Positive attracts positive. Negative attracts negative. How can you possibly expect those clients to come knocking in your inbox, knocking in your DM, knocking in your email, if the vibration that you're throwing off is shitty?
Yeah.
Impossible. So what I'm going to talk about and what I'm going to emphasize is, in order for you to attract those things that you want to attract, your frequency has to be in vibration to that you want to bring to the table. So here's the thing. You got bosses that want things to happen amazingly. You got bosses that expect things from their workers, but yet they're not, number one, appreciating them, and they're not in vibration to support what they have in their mind. And guys, this is why the morning ritual is so important, because when you're in high vibration, when you're in high frequency, and we're not just talking about being positive, we're talking about your energy levels internally. When your energy level rises and your frequency rises and your intensity rises, now what happens? Your awareness and your connection possibilities are endless. But if you're anywhere with low energy, if you're anywhere with low frequency, if you're anywhere with a shitty attitude, with a shitty mindset, thinking, talking, and feeling negative, you're going to get only that you're feeling.
Amen. You know, and I'll open up to you guys. I mean, there was times in my career where I was just so miserable because I thought all my clients sucked and, it was all their fault. And when I look back at that little short period of time, if you will, and when I say short, it was about a 2 or 3 year stint. So, and that's short, long-term thinking, but felt like an eternity, back then. It wasn't their fault. It wasn't their fault. They weren't bad clients. I had some nonsense going on in my head that was absolutely destroying my business and my brand. And until I was able to face that, until I was able to reconcile that, I had a terrible, terrible business that I was running. And I just felt like it was collapsing around me, and I didn't know what to do. And instead of trying to polish a turd, I said, you know what? I need to get to the root of this. I need to pull out the root problem of what's going on here. And it was me. It was me. And so I got some mindset coaching done, and it was a tremendous help. I was able to look at my clients a lot differently. I was able to look at myself a lot differently, and it really turned the business around. And so this is what Jeremy's saying. What you put out is what you're going to get back. And he's talking about vibrations, and he's using that word specifically. The vibrations, the vibes that I was putting out during that 3-year stint, during those 36 months, were awful. I was attracting the wrong clients. I was trying to be somebody I wasn't, hence getting the wrong people into my world and into my circle. And there's no reason, and there's no surprise now that I look back. Hindsight's 2020, right? I look back and I go, wow, had I known what I know now, those 36 months could have been a lot different. So, Jeremy, let me ask you this. What are some, besides the morning ritual, right? Which is, if any of you, if there's one thing you take away from this podcast episode, it's implementing that ritual. What are some things that you can give to my audience to help them sort of look at their brands differently and look at the way they communicate with their audience differently to help them attract the right person, the right client, the right audience?
I think if there's anything that I can answer to that, it must be this. How much do you care about your brand? What does your brand truly mean to you? Because the reason why that's so important is because when you embody what you do, when you truly love what you do, that's going to be the energy that you're going to be rubbing off, because you're doing it from a fulfillment, meaningful, and purposeful standpoint. If you think money first, you're going to chase the money and you're going to forget about the most important component, and it's emotion. Emotion is what's going to drive your clients to you. And here's what I mean. And I have to emphasize this for you, Henry. When I used to see Henry's post on Instagram, I would literally screenshot his quotes. I would screenshot what he would post because it has so much meaning and it was so relatable in my life. Here's where everything came full circle. When I asked him who he was at the Synergy conference, and he literally, without a doubt, just hugged me. He gave me 5 and he hugged me. He showed me his gratitude. Not only that, he found me at lunch and had the beautiful heart of his to take me out to eat, feed me pizza, and the most important thing, right? The most important thing is that, guys, he made me feel like he was the guy that I've been following on social media.
And you were a cheap date too. You were a cheap date, Jeremy.
How powerful is that? We literally went to go pay for the food together, and he said, no, it is my honor and privilege to treat you. Guys, your clients, those are relationships. They're not just money. The stronger those relationships become, the longer that relationship is going to last, and the more you're going to benefit in the long run. Remember, it's not about you, it's about them. So think about that. Right now, I got a podcast because I screenshotted a gentleman's post. I asked him who he was. He greeted me warmly. We had a beautiful connection, and now this relationship has just gotten to this level. Are you aiming at developing relationships, or are you aiming at people's pockets? Are you truly passionate about what you're doing, or are you doing it because you want to buy that nice car and that nice house and you know this is the way to go? Guys, passion. When you're passionate about something, it's not a goal, it's not a dream, it's a lifestyle.
You're dropping heat, bro. I don't even know where to go with this because you're just dropping. You're dropping heat. I mean, this is the fundamentals that I'm talking about, guys. And you hear me preach about this all day long. But he's talking about relationships. He's talking about how you make people feel. He's talking about how you stir people's emotions to get them to want to connect with you and be with you. Now, I didn't, when I met, I didn't meet Jeremy and I was like, I'm going to take that guy out for pizza later because this is what I'm going to get him. That wasn't my intention at all. Like, here's a follower that's been following me for a while and I have an opportunity to get to know him more. And I was like, dude, what are you doing for lunch? Let's go. It was a beautiful day in the city too. So, I was like, what are you doing for lunch? He's like, you tell me. And so, that's how it was. It was very, very natural. And it's funny, like yes. people love to buy, but they hate to be sold. People love to buy, but they hate to be sold. And I was like, I'm not here to like pick up clients today. I'm here to like really soak in what these speakers are delivering, number one. And number two, I just want to connect with people. I have an opportunity to be around 5,000 potential like-minded entrepreneurs that are all out, trying to just do their thing like I am. Like, of course I want to connect with them and learn from them and hear what they're doing. And so when I heard Jeremy's story, and I want to get back to this in a second, because there's a lot of people listening right now that may be in a position where, they might not be able to afford that service or that product that's going to help them take their business to the next level. And, you mentioned something earlier in the podcast where don't let your circumstances determine where it is that you want to go. So I want you to speak on that as we kind of round out the podcast. I want you to talk about how important it is to not let your circumstances determine where it is that you're going in the future.
Right. The more you think about your circumstances, the less you're using your imagination. And here's the biggest thing that I started to apply in my life when I put this into perspective. Thinking is free. Whatever you want, whatever dollar amount you want, whatever you want to experience, whatever it is that you're after, it's absolutely free. Now, my question to you, are you busier making excuses on why you can't, or are you busier thinking about how you can? When you think about when you think about what's happening between those two ears, nothing can stop that. People can criticize you. People can complain. Anything can happen. But what you can control is what happens between those two ears. And here's the question that I have for your audience. How often are you thinking about what you want opposed to what you don't want? Remember, where focus goes, energy flows, ladies and gentlemen. And that is so simple, but yet it's so hard to apply because we haven't had the ability to dominate our emotions. So think about that. So for me, I tell myself, if I understand what I'm going after, if I understand what I really want and why I want it, now it's just a matter of thinking about it 110%. So for those of you that are thinking about, how can I afford Henry's services, Unique Designz? How can I afford his services? Think about, number one, what would his services mean to you? Number two, think about what's the outcome that you actually want if you get that service. And then forget about how it's going to happen, believe that it's going to happen, and execute daily tasks to build enough momentum for that ultimate goal to come find you rather than you find it. That's so powerful, man. That's so,
it's the key. That is the key to success. Honest to God. And that's why you are here today on this podcast, spitting what you're spitting, because there's people out there, there's thousands of people that are going to listen to this and say, wow, that just rattled my cage. I wasn't ready for that on a Brand Doctor podcast episode. And it all comes down to imagination. It all comes down to what it is that you truly want. And I tell people branding is the best thing in the world, and it's the most fun out of all the different types of things that go on inside of business, is because it allows you to do what you want. You can create the brand of your dreams if you have a big enough imagination to build it. Look at freaking Elon Musk. Look at these monsters out there. Look at Zucks. Like, seriously? Like, look how big their imaginations are, and look where they're at today.
Unbelievable.
And sky's the limit. And I try to tell my clients that all the time. You're living in a little cocoon. You're thinking small. You're playing small. You need to get out there and strive and grow. I just did an episode today. I just did a Facebook Live earlier this morning, and I talked about how, we don't know what we don't know. And we need to be okay with that.
Yes.
Like, it was funny. I'll tell the quick story now. So I had a contractor come over. My wife and I are going to be remodeling the basement a little bit, right? And we got a full bathroom down there. And so he says, the contractor says, well, what are you going to do with this bathroom? What are you going to do with the tiles on the floor? I go, what's wrong with them? He said, bro, the tiles look like they're from 1986. Now, to me, the tiles were fine. But when I got an expert in there, and now he could have been upselling me, right? He could have been making, but he said, dude, you're going to do this beautiful basement over, and you're going to leave out the floor in the bathroom? What are you, crazy? So had I not seen that, had I not gotten that perspective, I would have left it. Right. And so that's my challenge for you guys today is are you thinking big? And are you getting that perspective that you may not even be aware of? Listen, you're not going to change unless somebody tells you, listen, you need to change or else this is going to be your outcome.
Love it.
And so that's the story that I want you guys to stop telling yourself, like, oh, well, I'm only going to be as good as blank, or, I just don't have the resources to do that. And, I just can't, like, that's all BS. Listen, if you find a big enough reason, you're going to make it happen.
Right.
And that's what Jeremy's doing. Jeremy had not the greatest upbringing, and he could have been a drug pusher. He could have been in a gang. He could have been stealing and robbing and been a victim of his circumstance and his environment. But what did he do? He created an awesome brand called Inspired by Unity. And he flipped that BS on its head. And now he's out there impacting thousands of children a month, helping them to get the right mindset so that they have a chance.
1,000,000%.
And all of us, I don't care if you were born into money or you were born with not two nickels to rub together. We all have choices. You're either going to make the right choices and the right things happen, or you're not going to make the right choices and you're just going to sit there in that mud and soak and feel sorry for yourself. Well, listen, I don't feel sorry for people like that. I'm sorry. Because guess what? I didn't have the best upbringing either. And listen, people had it a hell of a lot harder than I did. But we all have our stories. And you know what? I said, I'm not going to live that story. I have bigger plans. And I just went. There wasn't an if, it was when this happens.
Yeah.
This is what's going to go down. And that's why I'm here and you're listening to me today. And that's why Jeremy's here and you're listening to him today, is because he didn't take no for an answer. So
just to piggyback off of that really quick before we close out.
Yeah.
Gary talks about this all the time. 1 out of 400 trillion.
Mm.
Those are the possibilities of you coming into this world. 1 out of 400 trillion. You could have been an abortion. You could have been a miscarriage. You could have never entered this world. So forget about what you don't have. Be grateful for what you do have. And take pride. Your standard, ladies and gentlemen, has to be you take pride in everything that you put your face on. You take pride in everything that has your name on it. You want to know why? Because at the end of the day, there's only one of you in this entire planet. Out of 7 billion people, there's only one of you. You're unique. You're special. You are amazing. Forget victimizing your circumstance. Forget about dwelling what's not going right for you. Start using your imagination and start being prideful and start thinking about everything that you're going to become. Guys, if it was easy, this is the power punch of this whole podcast. Eric Thomas says it all the time. If it was easy, everybody would do it. You know what it is to wake up every single day, to be in a good mindset every single day, to execute every single day, to outlast every single one of those emotions that want to bring you down. You have to be mentally fit, emotionally fit, and you have to be fundamentally sounded to be the entrepreneur that you guys want to become. What does your brain mean to you is going to say a lot about how well and how far you're going to take it.
I love it, bro. Listen, I'm going to leave it there. I'm going to leave it there, my friends, because it was a very, very strong statement. So listen, guys, I hope you got value out of this. I hope this rattled your cage. I hope this woke you up. And I would just want to give a huge shout to Jeremy again for being part of this show today. And just thank you for sharing your energy. I feel it through the freaking speakers. And I'm like, wow.
Awesome.
Like you got me lit, bro. And that takes a lot.
Let's go.
So listen, man, for all of you guys that are listening, please, if you found this episode valuable, please share it with a friend or colleague. If you haven't jumped into the Brand Doctors Hangout Facebook group, go to Facebook right now. Go to the search query, type in Brand Doctors Hangout. Go join that community. Jeremy's in there. I'm in there on a daily basis, just trying to help as many entrepreneurs I possibly can to really transform their brand, increase their profits, and really create that brand and design that life of their dreams. I mean, that's what it comes down to, guys. So hope you got some value out of this. Stay tuned. We got more heat coming up in the next couple of episodes. Got a couple more amazing guests. And so, guys, thank you for listening. Jeremy, thank you for being part of this show today, and just keep doing what you're doing. You're doing amazing, bro. And this is not the last time you and I are going to be chatting. I can promise. Absolutely. That. I feel it.
Absolutely. I'm so privileged, man. Thank you so much for this amazing opportunity. Thank you. And thank you for being you. Thank you for being you. Like I told you the other day, your impact, your numbers don't indicate the impact that you're making in our world.
I appreciate you, bro. I really do. Thank you.
Talk soon.
All right, brother. Take care, guys. I'll see you on the next episode.
You've been listening to the Brand Doctor Podcast with Henry Kaminski Jr. To get your appointment with the doctor, visit Brand Audit at www.uniquedesigns.net.